Welcome to Giant Cocktails, a podcast where two lifelong fans talk about the San Francisco Giants while drinking homemade cocktails. Now, here are your hosts, Ben and Matthew Henry.
Hello, and welcome back, cocktail enthusiasts and baseball aficionados. I'm your guide through the frothy and fun, Matthew Henry, your resident mixologist with a penchant for pinstripes. Okay, never mind. And joining me, as always, is the Grand Duke of Distilleries, the Sultan of Slugging Statistics, the one and only Ben Henry. Word has it, he's sporting a monocle and a baseball-themed cravat today, quite fitting for a man who can both whip up a mean Manhattan and break down a batting average with regal precision. So grab your shakers and settle in for another episode of Giant Cocktails Midweek Review. Let's stir things up. How you doing, Sultan of Slugging Statistics?
Oh, excuse me, I just dropped my monocle. I was tripping over my cravat. Or like I got hung up on the pinstripes for me, man. I just what? So anyway, but I went with it because it's ChatGPT. You just gotta read it. Well, it's a baseball thing, Matthew. You know, that team from the New York.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. The San Francisco Giants have pulled off the impossible. They have finished a series, and they are not 2 games under 500.
Yeah. They only need to win one more to kind of avoid that again for a while. So
I don't think that's possible. I think we had that one moment for the season, and I think the best we can hope for is that they push past 500 in that last week of the season accidentally.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's how they seal it. And then of course they'll move into the second wild card spot when they do that.
Of course.
Which we now know is the worst wild card spot. So and that seems pretty typical. Yeah, that seems very San Francisco Giants like.
Yeah.
But anyway, What is a cravat?
You know, that's a good question. I was hoping that you would know.
No, yeah, let's not look it up. We're not going to look it up. We're not going to look it up. We're just going to.
Okay. I felt like it was something around the neck.
It's like a necktie.
Region.
It's like a it's like a gentleman's scarf.
Oh, okay. So okay.
Yeah, sure.
I knew it was something to do with neck, but I wasn't okay. Anyway.
Right.
Anyway, enough about neckwear and monocles. What are you drinking today, Ben?
Today, Matthew, I'm drinking a cocktail I'm calling All Keyed Up.
Oh, all right.
Because I'm all keyed up. No, it's because actually I celebrated my birthday recently. And my lovely wife made me a key lime pie, which I love. It's like my favorite dessert in the world. And as a result of that, though, we had a bunch of little key limes left over. And so I made a cocktail out of key limes, and which I really don't, I won't ever do that again. Because I had to squeeze like 1,000 key limes to get like a half an ounce of key lime juice. And that was barely enough. But anyway, I am drinking a cocktail I'm calling All Keyed Up, and I did just kind of throw this together. So your mileage may vary when you create this cocktail. But anyway, here it is. 2 ounces of white rum, 1 ounce of apricot liqueur, 1 ounce of passion fruit liqueur, and then 3/4 of an ounce of key lime juice. And I guess you would just say key lime juice. And then 4 ounces of pineapple juice. And what you do is you take your rum, the liqueurs, and the key lime juice, and you put that in a shaker with ice. You shake it until chilled. You strain it into a highball with ice, and then you top that with pineapple juice to taste. And that was barely enough to counter the tartness of the key lime juice. So I'm not sure that this is an absolute winner, but it's a starting point. It's a starting point, folks. And that's what I'm drinking today, Matthew. The All Keyed Up.
All right. Feels like you're getting a little tiki-esque again. I haven't seen that in a while.
It was. I wish I had put a dark rum in here first. I don't know why I didn't. I'm stupid. That's why.
You're out of practice with the rum.
I am.
All right. Well, today, folks, I'm bringing a drink called the Yerba Buena. And the Yerba Buena is a take on the mojito, except we're going tequila this time. So it's got 2 ounces of Reposado Tequila. It's got about 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice, or the juice of 1 lime, 1/4 ounce of agave nectar, 8 mint leaves. And you're going to take the mint leaves, the agave nectar, and the juice, and then you're going to muddle it in the bottom of a highball glass, and just to release the mint oils. And then you're going to add ice and tequila. And then you're going to give it a good stir and top it with ginger beer to the top, and garnish it with a mint sprig and or lime wheel. And what you get is a nice, refreshing, minty tequila drink. And that's what I'm drinking today. So what are we talking about today, Ben? Well, we're getting to this part of the season where it's getting harder and harder to think of things to talk about, frankly. But there's been one that I've been wanting to talk with you specifically about, and that is future Hall of Famer Brett Wisely.
No.
So we might talk about Brett Wisely today.
Veto. Veto.
What else are we going to talk about? Well, breaking news. Our offense is bad. And so we thought maybe we would dig into like how and why, it's bad, because, this is going to be an ongoing thing. It just is. And it's always somebody new that we get to kind of poke fun at. So we're going to do a little bit of that today.
But it's not bad in the way that many listeners and other Giants fans want it to be bad.
Right.
So, we're kind of raining on that parade. Yes. We're finding a way to be pessimistic even when we're being pessimistic. That doesn't make any sense, but whatever.
And then, of course, we'll finish up with some lightning round topics. Today, folks, is Wednesday, June 12th. As we record this podcast, the Giants are coming off a nice series win against the Houston Astros, where they went 2-1 over the last 3 games to bring their record, as Ben mentioned, to 34-35. 1 game under 500, but also 1 game over homeostasis for the Giants, which has been 2 games under 500 for like forever. So maybe things are looking up. I'm going to be the optimist today and say we're on an upward trend, Ben.
That's right. And who, Matthew, is going to lead us out of that mediocrity?
Future Hall of Famer Brett Wisely. So you're going to have to go to like 2 Hall of Fame ceremonies.
I'm not going.
In like 15 years.
No.
It's going to be Ramos and Wisely going in together. It'll be like the famed Giants duo of Elliot Ramos and Brett Wisely.
No. That is the only way I'm going to Wisely's Hall of Fame induction, Matthew, is if it's at the same one as Ramos's. Okay, that's the only way.
All right.
But hang on. Look, I'm being funny. We're making jokes. That's what we do on the show. We're funny, or we try to be funny, right? I guess it's up to you, the listener, to decide if we succeed or not. Do we care? No, it's all right. Anyway, point is, we're being funny, but I do look. It takes a big man to be able to admit when they're wrong, and I am a big man. I'm a class A human being, Matthew. And so I'm going to readily admit that right now, Brett Wisely is having a moment. He is playing some really good baseball. Most importantly, he's hitting, and he's not just doing like little slapdash singles. He's hitting home runs over the wall at Oracle. And so I felt like it was my responsibility to take ownership of this. And believe it or not, folks, I'm the one who suggested that we talk about Brett Wisely today, not Matthew. So I'm here to say that Brett Wisely is good-ish.
This is what happens when we let Ben drink too much.
No, it's not, Bob. Come on.
Could be,
okay,
Bob.
Look, yes.
Most likely, Bob.
Yes, it's most likely. But honestly, I had to pregame a little bit, Bob. I had to pregame a little bit just to get myself to this point, okay? Okay, Bob? So, like, you're kind of right. but also I'm kind of right. And I like it when I'm right more than when I like it when you're right.
Well, okay, let me ask you this question, though, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Is Brett Wisely our starting shortstop for the rest of the season?
Man.
Let me answer that question for you. The answer is yes. Yes, Brett Wisely is our starting shortstop for the rest of the season because he's hitting. And as we alluded to just a little while ago, the Giants aren't really good at that, Ben. And so they need all the offense they can get. And unfortunately, Mr. Nick Ahmed, who is scheduled to come off the IL any day or week now, isn't the answer at the plate. So, yeah, it's going to be.
Are you suggesting that Nick Ahmed is going to get DFA'd permanently because Brett Wisely's having a good couple of...
No, I'm suggesting that Casey Schmidt's going to go back down to AAA and Nick Ahmed is going to be on the bench. That's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the point is Matthew is right.
Thank you.
Casey Schmidt is definitely going to get sent back down to AAA, which, let's face it, he should have been already. The only reason that he's still on the team today is because Matt Chapman woke up one day and had a tight hamstring. And therefore Tyler Fitzgerald is now, rocking the River Cats uniform. It really bothers me on social media whenever they call them the Kitties. I don't know why that bothers me.
That just sounds wrong.
It does. The Kitties. What? Anyway, neither here nor there. It just, but it does weird me out. And so, okay, I guess. Yeah, I guess. And I got to tell you, I mean, he has been a huge part of this team. I'm they're winning games because of Brett Wisely right now.
Yeah.
And he had a huge hit in their last extra innings game against Texas. He had the home run in the Houston series. He just continues to perform at the plate, and it's consistent, right? It's not this typical flash in the pan that we've been getting out of our young players, quite frankly, that we've been getting out of everybody. And you're right. I think at the end of the day, he's not as good defensively as Nick Ahmed, not by a long shot, but his hitting production is so much better than what Ahmed typically does that the combination of his offense and his defense certainly outperforms Nick Ahmed on the whole. Now, do I think that's going to last? I'm a horrible person, Matthew. I just had this internal thoughts in my mind of I don't really think it's going to last. But in my mind, I was almost thinking I don't really want it to last. Why are people like that?
Why do you wish bad things for people?
Because I want to be right. Because I want to be right. I want to be right more than I want this kid to have success. I'm a horrible person.
Oh, man. You mentioned consistency and how Brett Wisely has been, one of the consistent hitters. It's weird to look at who the most consistent hitters have been, really. I mean, you look at it and it's Brett Wisely and Patrick Bailey. I mean, it just seems maybe you throw Elliot Ramos in there since he's brought back up. But there hasn't been a whole lot of consistency, which I guess we'll talk about next. But it's tough to kind of you can't point to any one thing that's wrong because it seems like every week there's a new scapegoat. But except Mr. Wisely, and he has just been consistently good. And so I feel like there's some value in that. He plays solid defense. And I think he's going to be the starting shortstop for the rest of the year. I
think that's completely and totally wrong. I think the job will eventually go back to Nick Ahmed, but I think he has definitely earned the right to stake his claim, right? And then who knows? Maybe thereby forcing Marco Luciano to a different position, or maybe even to a different organization. And boy, we'll all regret that next year. But
when he's when he's the starting shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Right, exactly. Or whoever it is. Not the St. Louis Cardinals.
No, it wouldn't be the Cardinals. Yeah. I don't know why that name came to my head, but no, that would not be it. But yeah, right? I mean, that's another episode of Trade Talk as we get into July. Because, there could be some movement. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe there needs to be movement now, though, Ben. Every week we sit down, and every episode before the episode we look down and look at the stats and who has been hot and who hasn't, and then you see someone like Michael Conforto and the stretch that he's on, and it's bad. When you're 1 for your last 21, 2 for your last 31, it's when you're only beating Kurt Casale in average and OPS on the team, it's not good. What do you want to do about Michael Conforto, Ben?
I want to DFA him. I want to DFA Michael Conforto. And I don't think that's new information. Conforto has upset me from the day that his contract was first signed, because he was one of these, like, if I suck, I'm going to come back for another year. And it's just like, it's really frustrating with him because he has these moments where you think, oh, he's going to turn it around. Oh, he's going to, the real Michael Conforto from 4 years ago, from 4 seasons ago, has finally come back. And everybody gets excited, and then he just disappears from the face of the planet. I'm tired of watching Michael Conforto bore the tears out of me.
The problem, though, is that Conforto, if you look at his numbers to date, if you squint, they're not that much different than his career averages. I mean, he's batting .241 on the season. I mean, he's got a career batting average, I think, of .255. So it's the one thing that sticks out is lack of power, right? His home runs. I mean, even though he leads our team,
that's all he's good for. Like that. I mean, a .240 batting average with no power.
Yeah, well, 240 is average. That's the league average. But then his strikeout to walk ratio, traditionally it's been 2 strikeouts to every 1 walk, and this year it's like 3 or 3 to 1 easily for strikeouts to walk. So he's struggling in ways that seem when you're counting on him to perform, he's not. So yeah, it's frustrating because you look at it and you're like, okay, he's almost good. He could be good, but he's not what we expected or needed him to be, really.
No.
So
no, he's not.
Okay, well, let's talk about somebody else. Let's talk about so I'm a sports psychology person. I have a master's degree in sports psychology. You know who needs a good sports psychologist, Ben?
Me?
Jorge Soler. Well, you too. Maybe just a psychologist, but Jorge needs a good sports psychologist. You had his numbers.
Yeah, let's go over this really quickly. I am looking at Jorge Soler's splits page on Baseball Reference. So this includes all of his stats through yesterday, Tuesday, as we record this podcast. And particularly, I was interested in looking at how he performed when the bases were occupied. And so just for a quick refresher, everyone, his year-to-date stats as of Tuesday were a .209 batting average, a .284 on-base percentage, and a .358 slugging percentage for an OPS of .643. His OPS plus is, I think, around 84, which is not good, right? That means he's 20% below major league average for OPS. All right, so those are his season totals. Now, I'm going to read to you a stat line, Matthew, that sounds much better than that. You ready? A .255 batting average, a .346 on-base percentage, and a .500 slugging percentage for an OPS of .846.
Decent. That's pretty good. All right. Yeah.
And an OPS plus of 149.
Very, very good.
That is very, very good. Okay. That is Jorge Soler when nobody's on base. And, I'm sure people have heard me on the show say how, clutch is not something that you can put in a bottle. Like, nobody's figured out how to be clutch. Nobody's figured out how to perform better in the high leverage moments. And certainly there are people that have a reputation for that. But really, when you start to take, a bigger look at a big picture look, you realize that they're really not that significant of a difference between their clutch performances and their non-clutch performances. And yet, here it seems that Jorge Soler has cracked the code, Matthew. Because when there are runners on base, he hits 168 with a 229 on-base percentage, a 234 slugging percentage, and a 462 OPS for an OPS plus of less than 50.
Wow.
And when runners are in scoring position, it's even worse. And this, folks, is why Jorge Soler feels so disappointing, because he's been breaking your hearts at the worst possible moments. Like, if you flip those numbers around, like if he sucked that bad when there was nobody on base, but had those stats when people were on base, we would all be amazed by how average his stats were. Like, we wouldn't be able to believe it, because in our minds, he'd be a god. Like, he's the most unclutch guy I've ever seen.
He's a
Talk
good
about
sports
a rally
psychologist.
killer. Man. or something. But, I mean, it's brutal. It's brutal to look at those numbers. They're unreal.
Yeah.
They're unreal. That just shouldn't happen. But it's happening.
Oh, all right. Well, it'll be interesting to see if he can turn that around. But boy, those numbers are awful. One more person who's struggling, Thairo Estrada. It's weird. He's also one that has gone through these ups and downs, and he's definitely one in a down cycle right now. Over the last 7 days, Thairo is hitting 087. He's 2 for his last 23, 7 strikeouts, no walks. And to a man, whenever you start seeing people struggle, you look at that walk to strikeout ratio, and you always see that the strikeouts far outweigh the walks. And it's, obviously they're struggling to control the strike zone, and they're chasing and going out of the strike zone a lot. And that seems to be the case with Thairo. So it's just, and he has been one of the guys that we've counted on to be one of those consistent bats, and has really been struggling lately.
I need a drink.
Bob, you and me both. I just finished my first one, and this one is, oh man. But Austin Slater, Bob, to the rescue. All right, and Austin Slater comes off the concussion IL and is hitting a robust .556 in his first 9 at bats. Well, and
that's why he still has a job. Yeah, because I said it, Matthew. He has to hit right now, and he is.
Yeah. The only one disappointed is Luis Matos.
That's true, but at least he's got Michael Conforto on his side. Yeah, I mean, he has finally come out. He has been really hot. I mean, it was just the combination between him and Ramos is why the Giants won the Houston series and instead of losing it. Because if it wasn't for Slater and Ramos, the Giants score no runs on Monday night. So, he's been really good. He's got to keep it up. He's got to keep doing it because, at the end of the day, I do think that the leash is probably the shortest for him. Like, all joking aside, I think it's much more likely that Austin Slater gets DFA'd than Michael Conforto.
Yeah.
It's time for a lightning round.
All right, let's do it.
All right, lightning round. Matthew, I'm asking you this time.
Okay.
At least this first question. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
So recently in The Athletic, Tim Kawakami wrote an article about the Giants trading for a big name player. And my question for you is this, Matthew. Should the Giants trade for Mike Trout?
See,
Lightning round, come on!
The heart says yes, but the brain says no.
So do what you always do. Follow your heart, you moron.
That's right. Okay, trade for Mike Trout. Yes, trade for Mike Trout. and in that article, Tim Kawakami makes a compelling argument that the Giants could do it. They could fit it into their salary structure, and maybe it wouldn't cost a whole lot. And, why not? Kick the tires on somebody like Mike Trout. He comes back, put some pop in there, and then you can say that one of the best players of our generation played for the Giants. That would be kind of cool. So I'm all in on Mike Trout. Yes, trade for Mike Trout.
Randy Johnson won his 300th game with the Giants.
Absolutely right. Yes, we'll get hit 3,000 with.
Nobody cares. No, absolutely not. Like, first of all, you'd be trading for an injured player, and this just becomes another Alex Cobb, Robbie Ray situation, and I'm tired of that.
This is exactly why they would do it. Buy cheap.
Give me a guy that can't. Give me a guy who can't play, and then you're going to be paying more money. The only thing that I liked about this idea from Kawakami was that he suggested trading Soler. And I was like, oh, that actually sounds better.
Yes.
Okay. No. This is a ridiculous idea. It's a lot of money for a lot of nothing. No.
All right. Next question. Do you remember when Farhan said that the Giants didn't need Blake Snell because of their deep pipeline of young pitching?
I do remember that, Matthew. I remember that very well. And I was thinking about that. I've been thinking about it for, since Blake Snell's last start, basically. And what I realized was we should have all known that Farhan Zaidi was blowing smoke when Dalton Jeffries started the fourth game of the season. Like, that's when we should have known that was all just BS. That was just about trying to get the best deal out of Snell. That was the clue, because you came out with a 28-year-old retread as your Snell placeholder instead of one of your vaunted young starting pitchers. And now, of course, the truth is totally out. Just no. I do remember that, and it was a bunch of BS. It was a bunch of BS.
It was a bunch of BS, and we fell for it. And, he's not wrong that we have a good pipeline of young pitching, but none of it seems ready to step into the role of starting pitching.
No, not ready by a long shot. I mean, can you imagine without Snell and, and without doing all the Dalton Jeffries and Mitch White and all that stuff, or Spencer Howard, it would have been what? It would have had to have been Black and Birdsong?
That was Birdsong, yeah.
Who was the guy that just got called up to AAA? Was it Birdsong? It was Birdsong. Yeah, like those would be the name. They're clearly not ready. Clearly not ready. So, Sonia, no. All right, Matthew. Well, one thing that I keep hearing people talking about is, they have this special game in the middle of the year called the All-Star Game, Matthew, where the best players from each team get to play in an exhibition game for the delight of the fans. It's the highlight of the year. Is it too early to start talking about the All-Star Game?
Way too early. Yeah. And I haven't even seen a ballot. I'm sure they're out there, but, I don't... Everybody's all speculating. The reason you see that out there is because people don't know what to talk about with the Giants. We sit down before there and we're trying to figure out what to talk about. And it's easy, folks. Easy folks talk about the All-Star, but we don't know. We got more than 4 weeks. Is it July 14th or...
We've got a month and 4 days as we record this podcast until the All-Star Game.
July 16th. July 14th. I was thinking of something else. All right. So way too early. Way too early. Right. So will Ramos be on the All-Star team? That's more than a month away. That's almost as much time as he's been with the Giants. Yeah. The answer to that is no.
Yeah. The answer to that is no.
Giants are only getting one All-Star, and it's not going to be Ramos.
Yeah, and it's going to be Brett Wisely. That's who it's going to be.
It's going to be Logan Webb. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be Logan Webb, and that's it. And that's why we don't need to talk about it.
Right. All right. Well, upcoming opponents. The reason I'm a little optimistic about us getting over that homeostasis of 2 games under 500 is that we play the Los Angeles Angels, who are currently 25-41 and battling the Oakland A's for last place in the American League West. So I feel like we got a shot there. Notable players to play for both the Giants and the Angels: Chili Davis, JT Snow.
Wow, good Giant.
And Matt Duffy.
Oh, another good Giant.
Yes, all good Giants.
All good Giants. All right. And that's a wrap on the midweek review, folks. Thank you for joining us. We will be back on Monday with the big show, where the cocktails will be stronger and the rants will be longer. If you can't wait that long to get your fix, feel free to reach out to us on the social medias. You can find us in Zuckland, aka Instagram and Threads, where we go by the username Giant Cocktails. You can also find us on the Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, and Mastodon at the same username. Don't forget, you can also listen to us on YouTube, so run over there to like, subscribe, and comment. But most importantly, be sure to leave us a positive review, like 5 stars positive, at your podcasting platform of choice, aka Apple Podcasts or Splatatify. Matthew, you were tardy today. Keep up the good work. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, Ben. Bye, everybody.
Don't give me that look. You were a little tardy. Usually I'm the tardy one.
Oh, I thought you said hardy because, yeah, totally. I was tardy. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, you were also hardy. Anyway, goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Giant Cocktails Podcast. Until next time, bottoms up.
No, because Matthew, see, they were at homeostasis at the end of their last series, and this series was only 3 games long, so there was no mathematical way for them to be at stasis when the series was over. It just wasn't possible.
Okay.
So this is not indicative of anything. What's really happening is we're just kind of in the middle of it.
All right. It's really hard to talk to you with that monocle on, but maybe you could just take that off.
I had to glue it in. It doesn't, because otherwise it keeps falling out.